On my birthday, I got a text from my father. Sold your gloves. Your sister needs a motorcycle. Be grateful we paid your training. Then he added, you'll cover her riding school, $1,800 by Monday. I said, no way. He replied, then pack up. You're out. So I left quietly. Next morning, they found the file on the table. Now my sister's crying, my mom's begging, and my father's calling every number he can. I'll never forget the text I got on my 19th birthday. It came in just before 7 a.m., while I was still half asleep. From my dad, of course. No, happy birthday. No, have a good day, son. Just this. Sold your gloves. Your sister needs a motorcycle. Be grateful we pay your gym fees. Also, you'll cover her riding school costs. $1,800. By Monday. At first, I thought it was a joke. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Then I saw the photo he'd attached, my gloves. My actual gloves, the ones I'd saved up for, the ones I won my first real fight in. Sitting on the hood of someone else's car. A stranger's hands holding them up. I texted back one thing. No way. The reply came less than 10 seconds later. Then pack up. You're out. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just laid there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, letting the last bit of hope leak out of me. I guess deep down, I'd known something like this was coming. Just didn't think it would be today. Or like this. Downstairs, the smell of tea drifted through the kitchen like nothing had happened. I walked in to find my dad already at the table, phone in hand, scrolling like always. He looked up at me just long enough to speak. Got 454, M. That'll get Ivy a decent starter bike. You should be proud of her. She passed the permit test. Ivy sat across from him, staring down at her cereal like it was the most interesting thing in the world. She didn't even glance at me. No birthday wishes. No sorry. Just kept her spoon moving in slow, silent circles. I stood there a moment, then set the envelope down on the table. Thick, white, sealed. I'd filled out everything last week at the legal clinic by the community center, emancipation paperwork, proof of financial independence, notarized affidavit of residency through the gym where I trained. I'd even had Coach Ed sign off as my sponsor. My dad didn't look at the envelope. He just said, you think this makes you a man? Walking out over some gloves. I didn't answer. You'll come crawling back. Still nothing. I looked at Ivy for the last time. She didn't meet my eyes. I turned, walked out the front door, and didn't look back. That was the morning I stopped being a son. I wasn't sure what I was after that, just that I was free. Not safe, not comfortable, but free. I had no gear, no gloves, and only one bag of clothes, but I had my spine. And for the first time in my life, I knew it was mine alone. Royce's apartment was a second-floor unit wedged above a rundown laundromat on Troost Avenue in Kansas City. The whole place smelled like warm detergent and damp fabric softener, and the walls were so thin you could hear every rinse cycle downstairs like it was happening in the kitchen. Still, to me, it felt like peace. He didn't ask for details. Just handed me a key, patted the busted-up futon, and said, you crash here as long as you need. Don't open the fridge, though. Something died in there like a week ago. I dropped my duffel on the floor and collapsed onto the couch. It sagged in the middle, the cushion hard and uneven, but I didn't care. I stared at the ceiling fan above me. One blade was missing, the other slow and wobbling, and let myself breathe for the first time all day. Royce came back a few minutes later with 2 sodas, one warm and both stale. He popped the tab and passed one to me. Happy birthday, I guess? Yeah, I muttered. Thanks. We sat in silence, listening to the hum of the washers below us. It was weird. I'd always hated silence growing up. Used to mean someone was mad, or something bad was about to happen. But here, the silence felt different. Clean. Like nothing was about to explode in my face for once. You really left, huh? Royce said finally. Yeah. He nodded, took a sip, and winced. God, that's terrible. Why are we drinking this? I gave a small laugh, the first real one I'd had in days. 'Cause we're broke. Royce shrugged. Fair. I laid back on the futon again, scrolling through my phone. My inbox was filled with messages from my dad blocked. Missed calls from my mom blocked. One message from Ivy, just the word, why, sitting unopened. I didn't have an answer for her. Maybe I never would. You think they'll come looking? Royce asked. I shook my head. They got what they wanted. My gloves. My money. They don't need me anymore. He didn't argue. Later that night, after Royce passed out on his mattress in the other room, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. I kept hearing my dad's voice in my head, over and over. You'll come crawling back. Like it was a fact, not a threat. I rolled over and looked at the door. It didn't creak. It didn't slam. It just sat there, closed, like a promise. I was out. I was free. And I wasn't crawling anywhere. It was about a week later when Royce knocked on the bathroom door while I was brushing my teeth. Yo, your dad's been calling my stepmom. I froze mid-rinse. What? Yeah. She texted me this morning. Said he's been leaving messages like, Tell your boy to come home. He stole from us and took off. I spat into the sink and gripped the edges. Seriously. Royce leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. Dead serious. She said he's telling people you ran off with cash from the house. That you abandoned Ivy and your mom. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Abandoned? I left a whole damn paper trail. He nodded slowly. I told her that. Told her you had docs and everything. She said she believed me, but, you know, word spreads fast in a place like this. I wiped my face with a towel and walked into the living room. My backpack sat on the floor next to the couch, the file folder still inside. I pulled it out, flipped through the stack. Every receipt, notarized form, the emancipation paperwork, even the email from Coach Ed backing up my financial independence. What are you going to do? Royce asked. I sat down at the table and opened my laptop. Post the truth. I wasn't looking to start a fight. I wasn't even looking for sympathy. I just wanted the facts out there, no commentary, no backstory. I took pictures of the documents, redacted everything sensitive, and uploaded them to a private forum I joined months ago. It was for kids like me, emancipated, estranged, done with the toxic family circus. No caption, no name, just one post titled, "Here's what I left behind." An hour later, the comments started rolling in. This is eerily familiar. Same story, different house. Thank you for sharing. You're not alone. I scrolled through quietly, heart pounding. It wasn't pity. It was validation. People who saw me, not as a runaway or a problem child, but as someone who'd finally drawn a line. Then, buried between a string of usernames, I saw one I recognized. Emily_KC91. I'm sorry. I believed him too. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Emily. My cousin. The one who used to parrot everything my dad said at holidays, always asking why I was so serious all the time. I stared at the screen, reading the message over and over. It was the first time anyone from that side of the family had ever said they were wrong. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. Just seeing it was enough. I leaned back in my chair, the hum of the laundromat below washing over me. The lies were out there now, but so was the truth. Let them spin whatever story they wanted. I had my own version, and for the first time, someone inside the family saw it for what it really was. And that felt like a win. A couple weeks later, I moved into a dorm on campus. It wasn't fancy, walls painted the color of old oatmeal, a heater that clicked like it had arthritis, and a single window that looked out over a parking lot, but it was mine. My key. My room. My choice. The first person I met was an administrator named Mrs. Glenn. She had short gray hair, glasses with a chain, and a no-nonsense way of talking that reminded me a little of Coach Ed. You're the emancipation case? She asked when I stepped into the housing office with my backpack slung over one shoulder. Yeah. Mason, I said. She nodded, flipping through a folder. We've got you on the meal voucher list. I added a line for legal aid too, just in case they try anything stupid. I blinked. You mean, my family? She glanced up over her glasses. That's usually who tries stupid things. You're not the first kid I've placed like this, you know. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just nodded and muttered, thank you. She handed me a key and a little welcome bag with a water bottle and a map of campus. You're not alone, Mason. Not anymore. That night, I unpacked what little I had, just a few shirts, some workout gear, my toothbrush, and a notebook full of scribbled boxing drills and goals I'd written down over the years. I sat on the floor beside the twin bed, flipping through the pages until I landed on one from last summer. Win 3 regional fights. Qualify for nationals. Keep my gloves clean. I stared at that last line for a while. Then I pulled my phone out of my pocket and opened the file I'd saved. The police report. Filed 2 days ago. It detailed the unauthorized sale of my gear, specifically, a signed pair of custom Everlasts, value estimated at over $300. Royce thought I was wasting my time. You really think they're going to chase down a pair of boxing gloves? I didn't file it to get them back. I filed it to make it real. To put a line in the sand. The gloves weren't coming back. But I was still here. Later that night, I walked down to the rec center. Coach Ed had pulled some strings to get me into the practice ring after hours, said the staff owed him favors. A student volunteer unlocked the door and left me alone in the gym with a pair of loaner gloves. They were stiff, a little too big, and smelled like someone else's sweat, but I didn't care. I wrapped my hands slowly, like I always did. Right, then left. One loop at a time. Then I stepped into the ring, bounced on my heels, and raised my fists. First punch was off. Second one too stiff. Third better. By the fifth, my rhythm came back. Pop, pop, breathe. The gloves didn't feel like mine, but the fight still did. I wasn't sure where this road was going. I didn't know what came next, but I was still a fighter. And now, I was fighting for myself. Word travels fast in small towns. Faster when your parents are the kind that never shut up until they're the ones being talked about. I found out through Royce again. He walked into the dorm one afternoon holding a phone to his ear, eyebrows raised. You're gonna want to hear this, he said, tossing it on the table and hitting speaker. It was his cousin, some guy who worked for a property management company back home. Your boy's parents, he was saying. Getting evicted. Landlord heard about the crap they pulled. Legal stuff. Financial coercion, or something. I sat there, staring at the table, feeling nothing at first. Just empty. Then came the letter. It showed up in my campus mailbox. Same handwriting I'd seen on birthday cards when I was a kid. Loopy cursive. Lavender ink. My mom. I opened it slowly, already bracing for the guilt. Mason, it began. I know things have gotten out of hand. I never meant for it to go this far. Your father's temper gets the best of him. You know how he is. But we miss you. Your sister misses you. There was no apology. Just vague guilt, foggy blame, and one specific line that stuck in my throat like a splinter. We could really use your help right now. Anything you can spare would mean a lot. It ended with love, mom, and a little heart drawn next to her name. I folded it in half, then in half again, and tucked it in the drawer next to my socks. Not out of sentiment. Just not ready to throw it away. That night, I got a text from a number I didn't know. The message was short. Ivy's crying. She says you broke the family. Congrats. No name, no context. Just that. I stared at the screen for a long time. I didn't know if Ivy had actually said it or if one of her friends was just trying to stab me from afar. Either way, it worked. It hurt. I wanted to believe Ivy didn't ask for any of this. That she was just caught in the middle. But then I remembered her at the table, eyes down, silent while Dad threw my gloves under the bus like they meant nothing. She didn't speak up then. She didn't message me after. And that's when I realized something important. I couldn't fix it. Not her. Not Mom. Not the warped version of love our family practiced. It wasn't my job to pull them out of the wreckage they built. Not anymore. That night, I fell asleep thinking I'd dream of a fight, maybe nationals, maybe sparring rounds. But instead, I dreamed of silence. Of walking through a city with no noise, no footsteps behind me, no voices yelling my name. Just space. Stillness. Peace. And when I woke up, I didn't feel scared of that quiet anymore. I felt free. It was late on a Thursday when Royce came home, his shirt streaked with grease and his face tight with something he wasn't saying. He dropped his backpack by the door and stood in the middle of the room like he forgot what he was doing. You good? I asked from the couch. He didn't answer right away. Then he rubbed a hand down his face and said, your dad came by the shop. I sat up fast. What? Yeah. Just walked in, middle of my shift, like he owned the place. Asked for me, then started poking around, asking where you're living now. Real casual, like we were old buddies. My stomach dropped. Did you tell him anything? Royce snorted. Hell no. I told him I hadn't seen you in weeks. Tried to steer him out, but then he got loud. Started ranting about how you'd gone off the rails, how you owed the family. Boss had to step in and throw him out. It got messy. I let out a breath, trying to keep the burn out of my chest. This is his last shot. He knows it's slipping. Royce nodded. Yeah, he's scrambling. Thought you'd fold if you showed up in person. Later that night, my phone buzzed. A new number. No name. The message was short. We need to talk. You're making a mistake. I stared at it for a long minute. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because I did. I didn't reply. Didn't let it get in my head. I tapped the message, held my thumb down, and hit delete. No rage. No second guessing. Just a clean swipe, like taking out the trash. It used to feel like his voice was always in the back of my mind, like a splinter I couldn't dig out. Every decision, every doubt, he was always right there, whispering how I'd never make it without him. But that night, all I heard was the buzz of the campus heater and the faint hum of traffic outside my window. His words didn't reach me. Not anymore. He thought showing up at Royce's job would rattle me. He thought a cryptic text would reel me back in. But you can't guilt someone who's already burned the bridge behind them. He tried power. He tried silence. Now he was trying charm, last-minute softness, hoping I was still the same scared kid. But that kid didn't live here anymore. I deleted the message, turned off my phone, and went back to my book. Let him talk to the silence. I wasn't listening. By the time spring showed up in Kansas City, the air had that soft bite to it, the kind that made you roll up your sleeves in the afternoon, but keep a hoodie handy by nightfall. Trees started blooming along the sidewalks, and the city felt like it was waking up again. So was I? My days settled into a rhythm that didn't feel like survival anymore. Morning classes, quick meals on the meal plan, training in the gym 4 nights a week. I picked up a part-time job at a used bookstore on the edge of campus. The place smelled like dust and coffee, and the owner, Mr. Walters, never asked questions. Just told me to shelve the new arrivals and keep the register drawer from sticking. It wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet, and it was mine. I stopped checking my phone for messages from home. The number of blocked texts and missed calls eventually slowed, then stopped altogether. The silence that used to scare me now felt like a gift. One afternoon, I sat by the campus fountain with a tattered notebook open in my lap. I scribbled boxing drills on one side of the page, and on the other, I started writing lyrics. I wasn't trying to be a poet or anything. It was just something to do with all the thoughts in my head. Sometimes they were about fights, sometimes about Ivy, sometimes just about how it felt to walk around and not be waiting for the next explosion. There was one line I kept writing over and over. I'm not running anymore. I underlined it, then closed the notebook and leaned back, letting the sun hit my face. I could hear students laughing somewhere behind me, the bookstore bell jingling in my memory, the pop of my gloves in the gym, the way my breath steadied between combinations. I didn't know what the future looked like. I didn't know if I'd qualify for nationals. I didn't know if Ivy would ever reach out again. I didn't know if my mom still cried about it all, or if my dad had moved on to controlling someone else. But I did know this. I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't waiting for someone to fix it. I wasn't looking for anyone to save me or tell me I was doing the right thing. I was building something. Every rep, every shift at work, every notebook page. And yeah, maybe I didn't have a big apartment or a full fridge or parents who clapped when I walked across the stage. But I had a bed I paid for, a job I showed up to, friends who asked how I was doing and actually cared about the answer. That night, as I walked back to the dorm, my hands tucked in my pockets and my bag slung over one shoulder, I caught my reflection in the glass door before I went in. Same face, same scar on my brow from that second fight back in high school. But something was different. I wasn't running. I wasn't stuck. I was free. And for the first time in my life, the unknown didn't feel like something to be afraid of. It felt like something I got to choose.